Mrs. Peters?
Yes, Mrs. Hale?
Do you think she did it?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I don't think she did. Asking for an apron in her little shawl. Worrying about her fruit.
No, it's strange. It must have been done awful crafty and still. They say it was such a funny way to kill a man, rigging it all up like that.
That's just what Mr. Hale said. There was a gun in the house. He says that's what he can't understand.
Mr. Henderson said coming out that what was needed for the case was a motive, something to show anger or sudden feeling.
Well, I don't see any signs of anger around here. Wonder how they're doing upstairs. You know, it seems kind of sneaky, locking her up in the town and then coming out here and trying to get her own house to turn against her.
But Mrs. Hale, the law is the law.
Suppose it is.
She was piecing a quilt.
It's a log cabin pattern. Pretty, isn't it? I wonder if she's going to quilt it or knot it.
They wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it. Ha ha.
Frank's fire didn't do much up there, did it? Well, let's go out to the barn and get that cleared up.
Go.
Oh, what are you doing, Mrs. Hale?
Just pulling out a stitch or two. That's not sewed very good. Bad sewing always made me fidgety.
I don't think we ought to touch things.
I'll just finish up this end. Mrs. Peters?
Yes, Mrs. Hale?
What do you suppose she was so nervous about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if she was nervous. I sometimes sew awful queer when I'm just tired. I wonder where we can find a piece of paper and string.
No. In that cupboard, maybe.
Why, here's a bird cage. Did she have a bird, Mrs. Hale?
Why, I don't know whether she did or not. I've been here for so long. There was a man around here last year selling canaries cheap, but I don't know as she took one. Maybe she did. She used to sing real pretty herself.
Seems funny to think of a bird here, but she must have had one, or why would she have a cage? I wonder what happened to it.
I'd suppose maybe the cat got it.
No, she didn't have a cat. Why, look at this door. It's broke. One hinge is pulled apart.
Looks as if someone have been rough with it.
Why, yes. But I'm awful glad you came with me, Mrs. Hale. It would be lonesome for me sitting here alone.
It would, wouldn't it? But I tell you what, I do wish, Mrs. Peters. I wish I had come over sometimes when she was here. I wish I had.
But of course you were awful busy, Mrs. Hale. Your house and your children.
I could have come. I stayed away because it weren't cheerful, and that's why I ought to have come in. I've liked this place. Maybe it's because it's down in the hollow, and you don't see the road. I do know what it is, but it's a lonesome place, and always was. I wish I had come over to see Minnie Foster sometimes. I can see now.
Well, you mustn't reproach yourself, Mrs. Hale. Somehow we just don't see how it is with other folks until something turns up.
Not having children makes less work, but it makes a quiet house. And right out to work all day, and no company when he did come in.
Not to know him. I've seen him in town. They say he was a good man.